Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is Dana from Metapilot Academy, and this is our first ever open masterclass. So what we're doing here is we have a few board members joining at their leisure. Michael Sean and Gabe Arrington, they will introduce themselves later. Michael Fenton is one of the people that has joined our MBA program recently, and the aim is to kind of have an open class. We have a structure to this class today and kind of an introduction to what the Academy is and what the MBA program is about and what it includes. And with that, I will just say I'm Dana, I'm the CEO of Metapilot Academy. I'm a neuroscientist by training. I did my PhD in neurobiology. This is how I ended up with this, which is, it's actually a copy of a painting that a famous Spanish neuroscientist made. And yeah, that's it. I'm just happy to get this started. Hello, Dana, another member of the board. And I guess we can start with Michael, if you would like to introduce yourself, and then we'll have the members of the board introduce themselves.
So we have two Michaels now. Is it Fenton or Fun?
Two Michaels. So shall we start with Michael Fenton, with the first Michael, with the introduction? Michael Fenton, you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Michael Fenton. Really don't know what you guys went on. I'm in the military police. Obviously, I'm at work right now. I'm just taking a bit of a break. I have like my own company called Cross North Dynamics, where I focus on like defense and medical things with machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I don't know, not much else.
Super. Great intro, Michael. I guess we can say, you know, you have a connection with the Canadian Armed Forces, and that your project will be. Oh, we lost him again. Anyway, whichever of you wants to go next, Michael, Gabe, Dana, just for like a quick intro so we can get started.
I'll go and go. Gabe Arrington. I have a background in strategy, policy, and emerging technology. 20 plus years in the Air Force, and most recently was the Chief of Disruptive Technology for our service at the Pentagon. So have a passion for education and technology and where it's taking society and humanity. Great to be here.
Super great to have you, and great to have someone from the US Air Force on board, Gabe. Dana, would you like to go next?
Yes. Good morning, good afternoon. My background is in human resources, specifically global human resources. I've been in this industry for the past 30-some years. I have done recruiting in every industry, from automotive to consulting, defense, as well as the last 17 years in the technology, in the SaaS environment with Oracle. I have passion in developing the workforce for the next generation of technology, whether if it's scaling up or understanding the impact of the new technology on requirements and jobs of the future. I want to make sure that our teams are graduating from school ready, prepared, and tooled with the resources they need in order to step in and get the career they want, if you will.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Michael Sean.
So nice to be here. So Michael Sean, I'm based in Gothenburg in Sweden. I have 30 years background as a technical director at Volvo Cars with the corporate venture capital arm. So I meet around 700 high-tech startups per year globally in AI, semiconductor, quantum, nano, energy, smart manufacturing, robotics, etc. Before that, I was also project manager for Volvo Cars autonomous drive core computer development, set up the partnership with NVIDIA, led a team of 130 people at Volvo Cars. This is now the computer powering the new Volvo Cars EX90 and upcoming models. Before that, I worked 20 years in the space business at the European Space Agency, together with NASA and the Japanese Space Agency, on missions like ExoMars rover, Earth-K satellite, Herschel Planck, looking out to the Big Bang, and star formation. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Fantastic.
My current role is a senior advisor. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. Thank you, Michael, for joining. So this is just to get things started, because every week we're going to have a presentation of either a different topic or a different program. So I'm going to spearhead this one with the executive MBA program at Meta Pilot Academy, which is what Michael has just started. And hopefully we have 2 or 3 more top students joining today. I guess, we had so many discussions as a board before launching Meta Pilot Academy, before launching the program, about what is missing in the education field, and, the connection between education and reaching, the level where we have careers a bit like the careers that you guys have. Michael, Gabe, Dana, you guys are kind of an inspiration to anyone that's trying to make it to the top of each industry. IT, aerospace, and mobility, I guess, and mobility investment. And I wanted the teachers to be people like you, because I've been, starting in robotics and many accelerators. We interacted with all kinds of people, and I found that the most inspiring people to talk to are the ones that have succeeded. And it's interesting because, in a way, the start of the tech field started with people like Bill Gates or people like Elon Musk, taking some people under their wing and mentoring them how to become like them, how to recreate that career of 40 years that is ascending in technology. And that's, I think this is very important thing to transfer to the next generation. That's kind of what we've been struggling with. The other thing is, it's very interesting to think about science in general. But what is even more interesting is to think, what problems does the world have right now that are the most pressing problems, and what are the problems that the industries need solved, also for financial reasons. So we're dealing with things, like climate, world peace, but also a lot of other things that need to be resolved. And so when we build our programs, we build them to resolve those problems and to build technologies that make sense at a deeper level, at the scientific level, but also at the industry level, and ultimately at the VC level, which is where Michael, for example, is very good. Do you guys have any other things you want to add to how you see the Meta Pilot Academy MBA, like just kind of a starting point, so that Michael gets an idea as well? Anyone?
Diane, I think you're muted.
My apologies, there was a background noise. I think what I find really interesting about and very special about what we do in Meta Pilot is we treat our students holistically. It's not just the technical aspects, but we look at the first principle thinking, individuals having agency. We talk about not understanding just one piece of it, but holistically, like a Rubik's Cube. How do you align the colors of all of your background, all of your knowledge, your personal, professional experiences to make one thing whole? And with all of the professors and board members, even us as board members, us as people who have been in the industry, we always are learning from one another, which means that you are never done learning and being educated and being prepared for the next step. Particularly in this industry, from an HR perspective, when I see job descriptions, they are designed for past innovations, past positions. So even in positions in recruiting and HR, we need to skill up in order to have job descriptions, in order to have resources for the next generation of knowledge, which means that what the students learn and what they give back is as important as it is what we do together from a board perspective. This is a very organic education, if you will, because the innovation, the technology is evolving as we speak. Nothing is the same as it was in 2025. So that evolution is what you will experience. Mobility has different definitions. We talked about the impact of the fires even in California, where I had experienced all of that. The technology piece of Metapilot, the mindset is understanding where the problems are and how to solution them, using the drone technology to put out fires, to identify where piloting can be used in a different way. So all of this to say, this evolution, to be part of it, is part of being what comes in the future, being the pioneer in this. So we are as much appreciative of the students that take a chance and think about their future in that way, that they are pioneers. They're going to be the next generation of what happens.
Wonderful.
Can I?
Yes, please, go ahead. This is fun.
Both Diana and I, we have attended International Space University a long time ago, and I see strong similarities here with what Metapilot and ISU want to achieve. As you pointed out, Diana, technology today is not linear, it's exponential, meaning that what you learn at university today is only relevant for a couple of years or 5 years. Then you need to continue to, it's a continuous learning. So I think Metapilot can also be a great network, similar to ISU with the alumni network, open up doors for the future leaders. I think it's also important to have the good values. So when I'm talking about the investments, there are four parameters I'm looking at. One is, of course, the creative intelligence, and that's what's moving things forward. Then you also need to combine it with technology. So technology gives you capabilities. And then you need capital. Capital gives you velocity or momentum. And then you need also to combine it with the fourth element. So this is excellence in execution. I mean, good product management. So if you create these leaders that kind of take these four factors into play, then I think you can really make a difference. So I typically also look in systems as transfer functions. How can you achieve a system impact in a system? So a bit simplified, a system is, I describe it with this box here. You have input in the system does something and generates some output, but you always have feedback loops into the system. A simple example is how you regulate the temperature in a room. So you have a set value, a measurement value, the difference you cannot regulate. But you can also apply the same logic to why Volvo Cars made a transition from internal combustion engines to electrical and EV engines. So why did we have this transformation in society? This was a new feedback loop that was actually created by the European Commission. They put tax on consumers, so CO2 emissions per kilometer. So everything above 95 grams per kilometer got taxed on. That was not sufficient, so they added another feedback loop, taxing producers. So that created a kind of the pendulum effect that really transformed the whole industry. But when it comes to innovation, there are 5 triggers that really create this monumental effect. So let me take an example of BlackBerry. In 2010, they had 90% market share. 1 year later, Apple took everything from them. Why did this happen? So there are 5 triggers when it comes to innovation. I think this is also what Metapilot wants to educate students in. One is that when the demand and performance is changing, you need to innovate to satisfy those demands. That's why our product gets better every year. Similarly, competition, this was in the BlackBerry and Apple case. When your competitor is doing something better, you need to innovate to stay in the game. The third factor, this is technology driven. So whenever there's a new technology curve, lying S-curves, and the new one takes over, you need to innovate to stay at top of that. And the fourth one, that is the EU example, when there's regulation. So regulation can be a very strong feedback loop in the system. So this is also what we did at Volvo Cars TechSun. We looked globally because Volvo is selling products in 150 different countries. So we try to anticipate, okay, where do we have kind of regulations that have an impact on the industry as a whole? So we can invest ahead of the game. And fifth one, which is collaboration, because the complexity of today's problems is of such magnitude that a single entity seldom can fix it together. So that's why you need this holistic meta-pilot leader that can see the system aspect, the kind of the T profile where you have both depth and width. So I think it's exciting. It's a great challenge to be a leader today in this complex society.
Yes, it is. Extremely well said. And I always love the engineering analogies with society. That's actually the thing that why we still need, hardcore technology training is to understand the complexities, and the advanced mathematics actually helps us understand the complexities as well. Thank you, Michael. And Gabe, any thoughts? I'd love to have your perspective on what the academy is.
Yeah, I think Michael and Dana covered things quite well. I will just add that with the topics that we hit on, whether it's drone technology for fighting wildfires, automation, mobility, etc. Their technology is moving so fast, and governments around the world are sinking so much money into various technological fields that it is an opportune time for people that want to pursue kind of their life's journey through a Metapilot lens to take advantage of opportunities to lead humanity into the future, to solve some of society's most pressing challenges. So we're at a unique time in history with multiple converging factors that are going to impact.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. Well, Michael Fenton, since you're here, perhaps you can continue on your short introduction about yourself and maybe tell us what got you to be interested in this, and what is it that you're trying to build? What is your view of the future based on your background and the industry that you're looking at? Let's start there.
Yeah, sure. What got me here is just how fast technology was moving. I've always been pretty interested in just the way things go, and I started experimenting with artificial intelligence a few years ago, and just how much information is available to you through it, like having like a little researcher with you. I saw like the needs of what's going on in like Ukraine and the Middle East, about like how drones are just swarming and like how fast technology is moving. And obviously being in the armed forces, seeing the danger of like being behind the curve on that is pretty dangerous. Like you don't want to be stuck behind while, next time you go to conflict with another nation, they're using drones and you're not. And like on the other side, for the medical side, I just like looking at like the natural world, how it can use things in nature to help with technology to beat it, like things like sound.
Yeah.
Like hunting subs you can hunt cancer with, like the same kind of way. So I've built like artificial intelligence platforms, like for drone detection, cancer, oncology research, even wildfire detection as well, using things like NASA firms. They have like satellite views down. Not really sure what else to tell you guys.
This is great. I mean, I think this is one thing that was mentioned that maybe wasn't clear to us, which is that not only is it vital to have all this knowledge in one person, the systems level, but also that it's actually really dangerous not to have it, which is, or at least that, to not have anyone who is doing it effectively, right? A bit what Michael Sean was talking regarding innovation. When someone is already, on the path to innovate, you already have to think of the next step. And it's very true of, drone and anti-drone systems. Gabe, well, you're an Air Force guy. We'd love to hear your opinion on on drone and defense, as an example?
Yeah, I'm interested in more of your thoughts, with respect to Ukraine and Russia, and the use of drones and what that means for national defense, national security, you know, for for global states. I think that this emerging technology stresses our defense systems that we've traditionally used at the state level. Particularly, what we're seeing across Europe now with some of the incursions, shutting down airports, etc. But really, what we've seen over the last 4-ish years with Ukraine and Russia has completely changed how the global, I would say, defense community views airspace, air operations, etc. And now we have to question and really do a lot more of intellectual and analytical rigor when it comes to investments. Is it worth spending tens of billions of dollars on a single asset that can be threatened by a one-way attack drone that costs pennies on the dollar compared to that, right? So you get into historical cost and position strategies, right? And this is where, when you start really analyzing these issues, the multidisciplinary skill set that Metapilot is advocating for comes to great use, because it's not enough to say, well, this is emerging technology. There's a threat, 1v1 to a Russian bomber that's parked in an airfield, right? You've really got to examine IR theory, right? International relations theory, cost and position strategy, a lot of different things. What's the impact on economics, etc. So that one case that you mentioned there, Michael, really has wide-ranging implications across a lot of different industries. I'll pause there.
I mean, the R&D budget for the venture capital market is an incredible $400 billion. That's where the cutting edge innovation is actually happening. Most corporate R&D investment is happening in what I would call in the first quadrant, where you have a known problem with known solutions. It's like Kaizen. You do something incremental better. Startups, they are operating in what I call in the second and the third quadrants, when you have known problem with unknown solutions, and also unknown problem with known solutions. This is typically where you find the cutting edge companies that is creating the future. So typically you could apply this kind of pyramid analogy or metaphor. At the top, we have a few really large corporations. And here in the bottom, we have a lot of small corporations. So I think a lot of the Metapilot leaders, they start here, but they need to learn how to grow the company. So they move out to become an SME, a small and medium enterprise, to make that kind of transitions. And there's a lot of capital moving into this kind of domain right now. And I know that Metapilot, I think you're working with NATO Diana. It's a great funnel of really high-tech startups.
For sure. Any thoughts on this, Dana? I know it's been on your mind, at least with the wildfire use case.
Yeah, I mean, I think the opportunities are endless. I mean, just listening to both Michaels, I mean, there's just the thoughts are swarming. It's from a perspective of have-nots, what technology is out there and what are we behind. From the perspective of how do we get what we need to get in the right places. Michael, you mentioned both Ukraine and Middle East. Part of the issue has been medical, right? How do you get medical equipment places that people can go to? How do you get food? How do you do surveillance? All of those things that are, it's almost like flip sides of the same coin. So it is an endless opportunity to be able to talk about defense, talk about humanitarian. How do you blend the two together? How I mean, Michael, you talked about the way you discover potential wildfires for Plan Bs. Same technology that you can potentially pick up cancer where it's just about to start. These are all, it's almost like tentacles, right? These are all things happening. And what I think it's really important here is to be able to capture all of the potential uses and develop pathways for them, right? One pathway is education. The other one is how people like me can develop tools and resources for students, for graduates, for organizations and companies to then tap into. So to me, this is a, as Michael, when you mentioned, it's the input and output and then circling it back, right? So education goes in, educated come out. How do we then utilize them the best in the areas that it's not just that they're interested in, but their technology and their knowledge is most useful. And Diana and I had some conversations around programs within the UN. There are many of them that are looking for this kind of knowledge, this kind of talent, that it's a combination of both. It's the ability to do defense with the new technology, but also deliver different way of support. Now, on the same pathway, there are other uses for this, and I look at even credential authentication. So where we are specifically with Metapilot now having the licensing and the credentials to be able to deliver a very, very robust program globally. And it's not designed just for one set of background. Someone like me with human resources, at some point, I want to know how this works. I've lived in 6 different countries. I've seen it all. So and in my mind, I can say, well, if I knew how to do this, if I had this technology in my fingerprints, I could do this differently. So I also look to you, Michael, to also share your knowledge of where you have had roadblocks in terms of looking for next chapter for you. Is it that when you potentially look at within the military, is it that the jobs don't speak the language that you're speaking in terms of your background? All of those things feeds into the next generation in my industry. How do we articulate what is required? How do we articulate in a way that it's not just what algorithms can pick up, because we also need to train them, right? We also need to have a co-pilot within how recruiters work. So all of this to say, the tentacles are many. There's always something that is a hurdle, and a technology and innovation happens to sort it. And that's where we are. We are identifying, we are building technology as we're identifying areas that we need to focus and we need to develop and find solutions for.
Absolutely, and great points, Dana. Mind you, Michael Fenton, I would have killed at this stage to have someone, who has been at Oracle as a lead recruiter for 30 years to ask me what my view on the field is. It's like the opportunity of a lifetime when you're preparing yourself. So it is a feedback loop for sure. I mean, we can discuss Ukraine and drones just as a sandbox, because we had this recent change where now the new Ministry of Defense of Ukraine is the former Minister of Cybersecurity and AI. And they recently gave to the public, and especially to startups, this open data set, which is everything that has been happening in Ukraine, at least in the aerial field. So it opens all sorts of issues, because now you have also people that have zero experience with defense or security trying to solve problems, which is both a good and a bad thing. That said, Ukraine is testing right now in their sandbox in a war zone. They're testing all these technologies, and they're also testing it in front of the opponent, which might or might not copy that. And then we have VCs involved, which might or might not be generalists and not be very familiar with, the overall diplomatic connections and geopolitics and history of the region and so forth. So a lot of delicate details there. But going back to what you said, Michael, so everyone else in the board is quite nice. I really like to get straight into it. So yesterday with Guillaume, we had him present his project idea to myself and another member, Paul, and I just like to hear what you have to say and give you feedback. So would you mind opening the website of your company idea, crossnorthdynamics.ca, and just kind of give us an overview, because I think this can be a great start to having a useful conversation.
Diana, unfortunately, I need to jump into another call. I will try to call back in 30-20 minutes if you still are talking.
Of course.
Otherwise, see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
If I may, before we jump into that, just to pull on another thread. Now we're seeing the ability, right, with Ukraine. We are seeing the ability of individuals, small business and large business, to influence global international relations and politics in ways that formerly only states could do. And so what I mean by that, like, we just hit on Ukraine, but let's look at what the access to Starlink systems in Iran is doing for global communications, and how that's impacting geopolitics in Iran, right? And that's a capability that is a company that chose to turn on the Starlink system overhead Iran, right? And how Starlink and Starshield works, right? You can turn it off over certain areas of the world or turn it back on based on the geopolitics and what those states' agreements are with, say, SpaceX. So I want to point that out because that trend is going to continue with individuals, small business, and business having impact in ways that only states used to be able to impact a global situation.
Great point.
Great point. So Michael, let me know if you managed to open or share your screen with the website. Otherwise, I can pull up your website.
That should be good. I was trying to log on my computer as well. Couldn't get the mic working on my laptop, so I don't know how to pull it up at the same time.
That's all right. I will open it. Entire screen. It's just funny because I was looking at your website. So let's see when this thing is opening. There might be a bit of a delay. There we go. The endless loop, my favorite thing. There we go. And just tell me when to move around once you see it. You can start.
Both those blue buttons kind of explain what I do with drone or cancer oncology. You click on them, there's a little basically a little virtual kind of sandbox to you can manipulate what my ideas are essentially. So if you go to the top of the page,
should I say
kind of
how
scroll
it
up.
works?
So click on the left box.
Try security pattern demo. Oh, there's a demo. Cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, so going in there, it kind of shows how I'm using acoustics and vibrations or sensor fusion to track drones, just because that's what Ukraine's doing. I talked to a couple people from a place called Defense Valley in Poland, and they worked with some of the people from Ukraine. And they were telling me a bit about how they have 98% accuracy going with acoustics for their Sky Fortress. For me, I just like when I thought about it, I thought phones were like everyone has a phone and the acoustic's pretty cheap, so it was the fastest way to give a million people a sensor in order to help with that, like things that were going on in Israel too when they got mass swarmed by Iran. And pretty much the same idea if you go back and then click on the medical one is showing how you can use sound to interact with a cell. So like using AI, I got to teach me about like how cells work and then what makes them different. So what I focused on was like cancer cells are softer than regular cells. And then like knowing that, then I thought about could find how you could find that and find that cheaply for places that might not have access to oncology like tools. So like using sound, made like a digital fingerprint. Just it trips or waves to find things like time of flight in between the resonance, the jitter, in order to you're pretty much like you'd be looking for like a submarine or an airplane, but now you're looking for like a cancer cell, very very small. But it pretty much works in the same way as what I was saying, that like you look at nature and now like things just scale up or down.
That's brilliant.
That's a very interesting overview, and I love how it goes into both. So, I mean, as someone who has weirdly enough played with both sensor fusion and T cells, I'd love to know more about the connection between the two, because honestly, it's something I haven't thought about. So, are we talking about sound frequencies in both, or?
Yeah, I have a one sec. I could show you. I have a. I'll be right back. I just gotta grab a link.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, take your time. I mean, I just wanted to show some visuals because it's a good place to start. I wanted to know why you applied and what you've been thinking about, because I love building from what's already there as opposed to like, throwing slide decks at you before an exam. That's how education used to be done. And now I think it's more about growing the ideas that are already in your head.
I think this would be, I would love to hear more about this.
I have a medical like a medical scanner I can show you. Just one sec here.
I think at some point, Michael, what would be really interesting is to, from my side of things, to have a better perspective of your background.
My background?
Where you started, where the seeds of this idea kind of, what was the genesis of all of this, and because to me, how you get to a place is just all laying the bricks, right? What were the different bricks that brought you to this moment, to developing this technology and all of that?
I don't really have any background on any of this. I kind of self-taught myself. Just really, like I said, I've been interested in technology and science and just the way things work. My grandfather died from cancer a few years ago, so I just thought about like how I could, I don't know. I just see problems. I like fixing them. There's not really too much more than that. Like just like I said, how technology moves so fast that the knowledge you're able to get now is exponential, like even what you could access 5 years ago. So like you would be no way for me to like learn things so quickly as I learn now, because half the problem is knowing where to look or knowing what questions to ask. And then that's where technology can help you a lot. There's things like using like Gemini deep research or deep search or deep think, and it helps with like you can ask it a question that's a stupid question, and it can help like bring it down for you to help you with the physics or like the actualities of how things actually work, other than like taking like a kind of like a half-cocked idea and trying to focus it better into what's reality and what's fiction.
So if I ever wanted to have someone teach first principle thinking from a position of a person who thinks that way, Mr. Michael Fenton would be the perfection. You don't have to have the technical background to be able to create the very logical due diligence in your mind of the who, what, when, where, and why. Once you have the mission set in your mind and you can articulate it, and with the help of Gemini, it helped Michael articulate exactly that mission. The next step is putting the pieces together. So well done, Michael. So you have the background. It's all up here.
Yeah, I guess. Like I said, it's not really an expert in one thing or another. It's like using tools to help me do, and then getting like more. Like I'm surprised how much expertise I was able to follow up on once I started asking about. Like I got a couple of universities here, and then, like I said, some of the defense partners up in to get some access. I attended like a Brave One conference. That's the Ukrainian defense industry, teaching you how to be like part of their industry and like what their needs are. And they have things like people on their front lines that you can talk to, that they can like actually test out your technology or find businesses within their own industry that you can partner with. And like people want to, obviously, like no one likes cancer and things like that. So like if you have an idea, like it's people are willing to listen, but the biggest problem is breaking through. Like for me personally in the military, it took me about a year to go from being in the military police, fighting with my chain of command, to try to get to somewhere else that will listen to technology that has to do with like aerospace and defensive technology. So with my own chain of command, they'd just be like, well, that's not really our thing, and they probably have people for that. So like everything is pretty compartmentalized, and that's the same with even like medical. It's hard to, like, a lot of these problems in life there are solutions for them, but like having the ability to execute them is more tough, especially how fast technology is moving. People are afraid of like regulatory things. Like they're not ready for as quick as things are moving. They don't want to move on it that fast, because obviously people that have money, they don't want to invest it in things that they feel they're going to lose on. Like who would want that? And they're not sure if it's going to work or not.
Yep.
It's funny like chatting about this with you, Michael, because I know like how deeply you've been thinking about these topics and why you apply. And you guys, so you probably know that we are judges for the presidential AI challenge. So this one is a US-wide call for very young kids to come up with solutions. And of course, I cannot say, what I've been looking at today, but let's just say, there are kids as young as, I don't know, 8-year-old, describing things in a manner that's quite similar to yours, like there's an issue and I want to solve it. So I look into solving it. It's really not that much more complicated. In the past, we had a different system where, and I'm not going to say that, credentials aren't useful to some extent, but without guidance, this is very difficult. So that's why we made the Meta Pilot Academy program, so that you get an overview of all of these things, what it is that you want to build. Okay, this in aerospace and defense, and this also has a medical application. Great. So we can start looking at it, where the problem exists, and then we can look deeper into what you need to learn. It might be that at some point, Michael, you're going to have to do a brief course on molecular biology, or maybe you want to do a brief course on sensor fusion or SLAM. But this is all part of, solving that bigger problem. And once that curiosity exists, and once you have support from mentors that care about solving the problem, it will become much easier. And you'll never feel like, okay, my CV says that I'm a doctor, so I'm going to be a doctor for the next 50 years. You're going to feel like you're achieving something and you're going towards the goal that you want. So that's kind of when I listen to these things and I just get so happy. It's like everything that I've been thinking is being said by someone else randomly. So yeah, this is fun. Is there something that you wanted to show us, Michael?
Yeah,
I
send it to you I just sent it to you on LinkedIn. It's a link. You can pull it up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show it right now since I have access.
So,
Mhm.
so right now I'm building my my library. So I built like a digital sandbox essentially. So this works for both like live blood samples or like virtual ones. So again, then I'm using Gemini to help me with making virtual ones. I don't have access to live blood right now. I'm working on that. If you go to the top, just connect to Felix Medical Intelligence. That's I made like a back end that is basically taking all the samples, turning them into a spectrometer, so like a picture essentially, and then bringing it back into. So if you have like say like a million samples, and then you look at the pictures, and eventually you'll be able to like make a medium, so you'll be able to see what's different. So you'd be able to find through the negative space very quickly like what would be the difference. You could go to like generate a sample and then use initially acoustic characteristic sequence. To, you use the same one. If you want to see how it works, you can just use the live input. It's just like a little chirp, like four of them, and then you put your blood there, and it give you had some blood in there. It'll show you what it looks like. If you want to know what it looked like, you just use in the sample mode, just use sim one, and then do the same thing, and it will show you what it will look like down there, what the things I'm looking for with the acoustics, like what factors I'm looking for. Like right now, those are the ones I could think of to look for. I'm sure there's different ways. Like I'm trying to wire like a little vibration thing that you use in like the amplifier. They're only like the Proctor 2. Can't pronounce it. It's like Pisno or something. But yeah, if you go down below, it has like the scores of them all, and it will. The more this gets used, the better it will be. And then
Are
you
you
could
work?
go to like Africa, and you'd have a cell phone. You could help them like, do cancer detection with, $10 worth of technology, a speaker and a microphone.
Are you partnering with any research institutes or
Brock University said they would be willing to partner with me with a program called MIDAX. I just need like basically capital for that, and to find like a student to work with their professor, like someone to like research it for me essentially to prove the hypothesis, I guess.
Yeah, we can help with that. In the program, we will start. So once we start to define your project, we will start to match with the relevant research labs and try to do maybe some kind of exchange. There will be quite a few in Canada because, I think the reason why Dana asked this is because it makes sense to also go deeper with the research, with the diligence before we go, further into testing this in the industry. And once we have, it's a bit like in the casino when you have like 777. If it works perfectly and we have confirmation from the research side, we have confirmation from the traction, the corporate side, then it makes sense to speak to investors like Michael Sean. Yeah.
It's aligning the colors. It's all about the Rubik's Cube. So the idea is that we will help organize your process and organize your thoughts and the research in such a way that you can align the colors. And at that point, what you're presenting is it's a portfolio. Research, product, cost, all of that stuff is all prepared. So you're coming in with a portfolio that all the person needs to do is understand the mission, and they're ready to support it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had a meeting with an investor. I think they're called like Etham, and they were ready for like a relatively substantial investment, but like I don't have any recurring revenue or really business plan. So like people are interested enough in the technology, but not so much in like my plan how to execute that.
Mhm. Yeah, we can advise on that because chatting with Guilhem the other week, it's a similar thing. You want to speak to investors when you're ready, and why is that? Because hey, maybe it's great to just get funding now and just get like an open check and not worry about it too much, right? But the thing is, what happens after you receive your investment? If you aren't very good at negotiating your valuation, your board seats, and all of these things with investors, you're going to find that within a few months, they're going to expect you to deliver a return, and you're not ready to build a product yet because you need to do more research, but they will not understand that because they're generalist VCs. And so this is why we need to check the traction at the research level and then at the corporate level, and we can help with that. So by the time you finish the MBA and you enter the demo day where we invite hundreds of investors, they will be competing to get 5% of your project, and then you will be in a position to negotiate the best deal, and you will be rejecting offers. That's how you want to go about this to make sure that you scale, because you'll reach a point where you're like, I know exactly what this is, I know how to grow it, and I know how to fix the problem, and I know how to make this a unicorn. You can be part of my project or not, but you'll never go to an investor saying, should my idea exist, because we already know that it should. So that's the approach.
Yeah, having problems too with like people are interested, but they don't like that I'm going in more than one direction. So they're like, you need to focus on defense. Most people want me to focus on defense, but like they're worried about me going more than one direction. But to me, is more or less the same thing. I guess it's just about finding things. So finding a drone, finding a cancer, I even made something for deep sea salvage. It's all this, it's all the same to me. I don't think there's a real problem with diversifying, especially with, like I said, how fast things are moving. Like why be stuck to the one?
And I'll guarantee you will talk to one investor that will say, you're too stratified, you're going too many different directions all at one time, and you need to be focused on one. But then you talk to another investor that says, why do you lock yourself into one thing when the technology can? Because once you get it out, there will be other people that try to replicate it. So why stick to one where you can get into all? So I think part of having this diverse group of people on your fingertips that you can run ideas by, how best approach it. Some of them are business owners they kind of know how to answer those investors, saying that this was intentional decision, that we didn't want to, you did not want to stick to one path, that this technology was important enough to create a hunger for it across multiple avenues. So I think as you know, there's opinions everywhere. The idea is to be able to really, really understand what you're looking to do, what your intention behind it is, and kind of create these pathways that feels right to you. So you have an intuition about what you created, why you created it, and where it can support. Our role is to be able to guide that energy based on our experiences. So Gabe is fully not just knowledgeable, but experienced in the defense industry. I from HR. There are other individuals that are either from the technology. The idea is to be able to first understand your intentions, your technology, much like you did the deep dive with Gemini. We would do a deep dive with you to really learn what you want. What if you had an idea of what the end goal would be? What would it look like for you? And we will help you navigate. And you may, as you're going through the process, you may say, you know what, that's what I thought I wanted, but now I understand it better and I want to stick to this lane. All of that is part of the learning. And there are no perfect answers until you walk through it, and we can be your guardrails. And it's your sounding board.
Sounding board, another great one. Gabe, any last thoughts on the presentation from Michael? Like his demo for now. Keep in mind he's starting a 1-year program, so hopefully in 1 year we'll be.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. Opportunities and challenges, I'll say, that you have as an entrepreneur, and I'll echo what's already been said. But you have to remain true to yourself, and it's got to continue to feed your passion, and that's what's going to make it great. So appreciate you sharing, and look forward to working more with you in the coming year.
Yep, I think. You're very welcome, Michael. I did like that you went as deep as having a demo, because everyone can build a pitch deck with ChatGPT. And I told Guilherme the same thing. Like Guilherme also has like a deep aerospace engineering background. If there's one thing I hate is a ChatGPT generated pitch deck, and you guys have like deep knowledge that it's very clear that you've been thinking deeply and care deeply about these things, and that's the great starting point. Well, I will say, the purpose was not to present the program or anything. You'll be getting all the details. We will review with you your career progression template, where you will be thinking about, where you want to be in 50 years and 40 years and 10, 5, and 1. And then you will start thinking about putting all of this in a pitch deck or multiple projects. I don't mind if you have multiple ones, then we can look at them at the same time. But what I wanted to say is, I hope you enjoyed the first chapter of the program, where we talk a bit about what it means to be a meta pilot and having this thinking more like a network, a bit how Dana explained with tentacles. It simply means that understanding drone technology is understanding diplomacy and is understanding history and culture to some extent. And it's also, maybe reading a few sci-fis and understanding the implications of that as well. And it's not that complicated. So if you think of how sailors were, like in the, 17th, 18th century, before they reached the Americas or before they reached India, these guys were trained to basically take a vessel and go to a place where no one knew, what they're going to find. They didn't know if they're going to find land. They didn't know if they're going to drown. They didn't know if there will be a storm or what they will find, maybe aliens. So they had to have a set of skills, right? They had to have diplomatic skills, meaning that whoever they meet there, they should at least be able to negotiate. They had to be able to orient themselves by the stars, in case they get completely lost in the middle of the ocean. And then they had to know physics. They had to know all of these things, survival skills, swimming. And this was considered normal. It's only now that we discuss our skills and, we put them all over LinkedIn, all over social media, that we go so deep into this. But I think that being a human being is being an explorer, at our core. And that for millions of years, this is how we got here, because we're explorers and we're fighters. And we talked about, AI and ChatGPT and all this. It's a wonderful tool. But we have very strong brains. If we got this far, there's something inside us that is capable of doing great things. So, I'll start with that and go through that, and then we will go through the next iterations of your project. But thank you. This was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Dana, for the amazing comments, as always. No problem, Guilherme, you're fine. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for taking our.
Thank you.
And yeah.